Almost no one has a clear idea of what free will really means, and we often confuse it with freedom. Freedom is the ability to do what one wants. I can act according to my will, and no one disputes that. The real question, the one that changes our lives when we truly understand it, is whether that will is actually free. The issue is not whether we can choose between two options, but rather understanding that the desire to choose one or the other is a natural phenomenon. Our will is the result of prior conditions in the universe, of cause and effect relationships, and of natural processes that occur in the organism we are. In order to choose something, we must have a prior preference, and it is impossible that we decided to have that preference. To decide which preference we have, we would need to have a preference for that preference, which would lead us into an absurd infinite loop. It is common to believe that if we choose something we do not like just to prove that we are free, we are exercising our free will, but this is a mistake. In that moment, we simply had two desires, such as choosing what we like or proving a point, and the desire to prove the point was naturally stronger in our brain. As we said in the previous topic, asking whether free will exists is as incoherent as asking whether free digestion exists. Both are complex biological processes over which we have no ultimate control. We do what our will leads us to do, but our will is shaped by multiple factors over which we have no control. We are not the driver of a car called the body. We are the entire organism in operation. This understanding does not take anything away from us. On the contrary, it frees us from illusions that only hinder our well-being. When we realize that the self we believed was at the wheel is a mental construct, a simplification of reality similar to the gods that ancient people believed hurled lightning, we stop attributing to ourselves an impossible authorship. This radically transforms our emotions and feelings. Hatred, for example, tends to disappear. Almost no one hates a storm or an animal acting on instinct because we see them as natural phenomena. When we understand that human beings are also natural phenomena, hatred toward the self of others dissolves. It makes no sense to hate an organism for the processes occurring within it, no matter how harmful they may be. The desire for revenge gives way to a more effective management of reality, focused on repairing harm and preventing future behavior in a scientific and compassionate way. In the same way, guilt and toxic regret dissolve. It is healthy to recognize a mistake in order not to repeat it, but torturing ourselves by thinking that we could have done otherwise is a logical error. In those exact circumstances with that brain configuration and those stimuli, we could not have acted differently. We are like clouds. They cannot decide where it rains. By assimilating this, self-esteem stops being a grade we give to a non-existent driver and becomes the care of an organism. If our brain does not function as we would like, we do not despise ourselves. Just as we would not despise our pancreas for having diabetes, we simply seek the information and resources necessary to improve our well-being. This perspective does not make us apathetic. We understand the crucial importance of our actions in achieving desired outcomes. Responsibility still exists as a practical concept for coexistence. We punish and reward not based on repayment or revenge for harm caused, but in order to shape future behavior and protect society. When we stop seeing ourselves as nouns, as static things, and begin to see ourselves as verbs, as living processes in constant transformation, pride and arrogance die. There are no longer selves superior to others, only organisms with different circumstances and biological characteristics. Finally, this understanding reintegrates us into the nature from which we felt separated. We are the astonishing complexity of life unfolding. Renouncing the myth of free will is the beginning of the most exciting discovery. Understanding that we are part of a fascinating universe where every thought and every feeling is a precious event. By being coherent with this reality, hatred and unnecessary suffering diminish, leaving room for a deep peace and an inexhaustible curiosity about what we are and what we may become.